Hello and welcome to Garden Chatter, where we connect gardeners, bloggers, and experts so we can all grow and learn together. Tonight we have a great show. We have Mark Highland on to talk about potting soil with us. And so in just a moment we'll meet him. And first, my co-host Bren can tell us how you can join this conversation live if you want to leave a question or comment. So how are you doing, Bren?
Not too bad. Spring is almost here. I'm in Hardiness Zone 5B, Ohio, and excited to get outside and get cleaning up the beds and growing some vegetables, and starting some containers. So I'm hoping Mark, our guest host tonight, can help us with that. So first off, I want to tell everybody, if you're watching us live on the Google Hangout, you're going to want to click right up at the top. Just take your mouse right up there. You'll see a little grid, and if you click on that grid, you'll get a Q&A box. You want to click on that again, and you'll see a nice little comment section pop up on the right-hand side, I think, right? Yeah. So be sure to say hi to Adam and I, and we're welcoming you to ask questions for Mark Highland, our great guest here tonight. And also I wanted to add that you can use the hashtag Garden Chatter on Twitter. So just tweet us. We're ready to go, right, Adam? Mark?
I think we're ready to go. So let's take a look. Mark's in his truck. He is so into joining us that he gets the best reception in his truck. So welcome, Mark. It's great to have you here. Appreciate you taking the time out to find the best reception for us. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, sorry it can't be in a more well-lit location, old farmhouse, so don't get reception in there. But yeah, same thing, getting ready to start the spring gardening season. It's been a little slow to come here in southeast Pennsylvania, which is a zone 6B, if I would say 7A, depending on where you are, but it's almost here.
Yeah.
So Mark, what's kind of your history leading up to starting your business that you have now? I know you got a degree in, was it in soil? What's the history there?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the University of Florida and got my degree in environmental horticulture. And I mean, that's basically like a nursery production degree for all intents and purposes. But yeah, and then more or less worked all around the country, different jobs from landscape.
We're losing a little bit of your audio,
Compost
Mark.
and potting soils. Yeah, I went back to school for compost and potting soil, research essentially. I did that at Longwood Gardens. And, from there, after I graduated, just decided to start the company. It was a now or never moment.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what are you doing now that you have your organic mechanic soil business? Like, what products do you have, or who are you selling to? What's your target?
Sure. So, I started Organic Mechanics now 9 years ago, and we started with one product, one size, and grew it from there. So our 2015 catalog has really 9 different products and then a variety of sizes of those products. So I mean, we make everything from seed starting potting soils to potting soils for all-purpose outdoor gardening. We do planting mixes for soil amending. We do fertilizers. We even started making an organic mulch. Which I never thought we'd be doing an organic mulch, but one of our biggest customers asked us to do it, so we did it. But yeah, I mean, everything that we do is OMRI listed, OMRI, Organic Materials Review Institute, is the company that does the OMRI listing, right? And Adam and Bren, do you all know the OMRI listing? When I say that, do you know that logo, that brand?
Yes, but I don't know the history behind it. I'm not quite sure. Can you explain it?
Yeah, I mean, the OMRI logo, it does stand for the Organic Materials Review Institute. It's a third-party verification process to show that any gardening product that undergoes the testing passes fully organic spec farm, right? So the equivalent in the food world, when you go buy organic milk or eggs, or bread, or it's that USDA organic logo, that green logo that's on food, USDA organic, that OMRI listing, that's the equivalent on gardening products. So if organic is important to you as a gardener, then you really want to look for products that have that OMRI logo on them. And so our products, we've done that extra step, gone through that verification process, and that makes our products different. And they're all peat-free as well, so we actually use other ingredients that we feel are better from a gardener's perspective than peat moss. So we use compost, coconut fiber, rice hulls, composted pine bark, worm castings, all ingredients in our blends. And everything that we do at Organic Mechanics, it all relates back to sustainability being a core value of the company. And so, when we're looking at new products or a new process or methods that we use to make our products, I mean, it all goes back to that kind of environmental sustainability being a core value, and everything kind of revolves around that.
That sounds really good. That's great. I was wondering, do you have a bit of a challenge getting sources for organic worm castings in sufficient quantities, and the coconut fiber, all that sort of stuff? Has that been a bit of a challenge, or is that going pretty well?
Yeah, I mean, it's going great. The industry is definitely there. It took a long time to kind of put all these pieces together, but at this point we get our materials very consistently. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, it did take years to find all these suppliers and get to the level of quality where we're at. We certainly have been through some suppliers that were not necessarily as fantastic as we would like, and over time, just always improved the quality of our product by sourcing new and or better quality suppliers. But yeah, everybody always asks, how we get all those worm castings, because literally we use truckloads upon truckloads of worm castings. And, of course, the best answer is just you follow them around with a little pooper scooper and you scoop it up.
Yeah, that's a lot of scooping.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's a really big pooper scooper, and it's very, very much an automated system. But yeah, they eat their food, and that's it. They do their thing, and then they get screened out, and then they get put into new beds of food, and the process continues, and they harvest tons, literally tons of worm castings.
Those worm castings work pretty well. I got a bag from you. I think it was a year ago at Cultivate in Columbus. I think it was. Anyways, I just use that in a little container, like a little tiny, actually, you're gonna laugh. I recycled toilet paper rolls. So I filled them with the worm casting and then started seeds like directly in the worm casting, and it worked really good. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but
it would make for a very healthy
it was.
Yeah.
It was. My peppers rocked.
Right? I love that. Yeah.
Maybe that was a bit too much, huh? Are you supposed to mix the worm castings with other things if you use that for seed startings or seed starters? Sorry.
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, definitely worm castings a little does go a long way. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with what you did, using it to start seeds. That's absolutely
Mhm.
fine. Um, and then, of course, when you planted that, you're putting a good amount of worm castings right in the
Mhm.
planting hole, so that would have been, great as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, you can mix them into a kind of just more economical seed starting blend as a way to improve it.
Okay.
We put worm castings in all of our blends, to improve them, to make them better. Um, so yeah, absolutely, worm castings are really, in my opinion, an integral part of every potting soil, including a seed starter.
Hmm.
So I was wondering if you have, if you've considered like the biology, the bacteria and fungi that are in your soil. Is that something that you test for, or have spent much time thinking about? It's probably.
Yeah, I mean we have tested for it in the past using what was then Soil Food Web, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're a testing service, and they test for active and total bacteria, active and total fungi, protozoa numbers, as well as nematode numbers.
Hmm.
Um, and then those are kind of metrics that you can use to gauge the health of the soil. Yeah, so we have done all that for our mixes, and the numbers are extremely favorable. Great bacterial, fungal, and protozoa content. The nematodes are not super high, but that would be kind of expected. In the type of soils that are bagged soils that are um, the you really need a really healthy compost in order to get nematode numbers up. And honestly, you need more of a real gardening situation to start to build those numbers. So, but yeah, all the biological numbers have been great. I mean, it's something that we don't test for it all the time because it is extremely expensive. But we have the exact same suppliers that we have had for years now since we've had that testing, and honestly, the results are pretty good.
That's cool. I've been trying to do more compost in my at home in my garden, and so I haven't actually had anything tested yet. I did take a class with Elaine Ingham at the Soil Food Web thing. She was actually nearby for a weekend, and that was really interesting. So I want to get a microscope and dig into that, but I haven't yet. So I was just curious.
Right?
I know I'll be like,
I
lose
don't
me.
know. That sounds scary. I don't know if I want to
Fun.
know. Just kidding. So I have to ask Mark. So what makes soil healthy? What is healthy soil?
So, a healthy soil seems like a very simple, easy thing to just, have, but, it's actually quite complex because to have a truly healthy organic soil, that soil all soil is alive, right? I
Mhm.
mean, we're taught that soil is sand, silt, and clay, maybe some air pockets. It's going to hold some water, and there's some organic matter. But it's the biology that's living on that organic matter
Mhm.
that really is going to impact the health of your soil. Because the mineral particles that are in soil, the sand, the silt, and the clay,
Mhm.
they don't have health. They're not alive. They're minerals, right? So when you talk about healthy soil, it's all about the biological community that lives in that soil. And that biological community needs to be diverse, and it needs to have high populations. I mean, that is the key to a healthy soil, is having a biologically active, diverse community of microorganisms. And the highlights are definitely the bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes. I mean, there's other microorganisms as well, but those are ones that are the true indicators of health. And again, it's the ratio of bacteria to fungi. It's the diversity of bacterial species, fungal species. That's what really leads to healthy soil. And you're only going to get that if you're amending your soil with high quality soil amendments. So whether it's compost, which is my #1 favorite, absolutely. Best thing to add to the garden is compost made in your own backyard. Everyone, I hope, is making compost and doing it themselves in their own backyard, because that is the best source of biology and organic matter. But all of us that have been composting for a long enough time in one spot and actually harvest, because I used to move around a lot, so I used to always leave some on my compost pile as a present. But when you live somewhere long enough and you do it yourself, it takes years to build that up to, a full bin.
Right.
And then you go to use it, and a 3x3x3 compost pile just disappears in a heartbeat, and even a postage stamp of a landscape. It really doesn't go all that far. So you end up having to buy, stuff at the, whatever your local source is, usually a local garden center, community center, that would sell compost. A lot of municipalities will make compost now and give it away for free to their residents. But you have to watch out for that free compost. It may also come with free weed seeds as well, which are not fun. But when you're looking for compost, when you're buying commercially made compost, that's compost that's going to hit really high temperatures, generally speaking above at least 131. That's going to cook off any weed seeds and cook off any potential disease pathogens that might be there, root rots, etc. It'll cook them all away so that you're left with good, high quality compost. And when compost goes through those temperature changes that it should when it's being made, you just develop this biological community that is very unique and adds a lot to the biological health of the soil. So high quality compost is the #1 thing I would always add to gardens to improve soil health.
Sounds like that is definitely good advice. I just noticed that Christy from Garden Nerd, she says, "Yay for compost." So thanks for piping in, and hi Christy, thanks for joining us. I just have a hard time getting enough material to make enough compost. Like you said, I'll get a big pile and I start using it. Next thing I know, it's like it's gone. So I've been, I have a neighbor maybe that has, brings me his grass clippings, and another one I see some stuff in the back of his truck, and I'm like, can I have that? Run it through the shredder, and I'm just trying to build up enough mass. So, but yeah, it's been fun. I've had some pretty good success with temperatures and that, so still working on it, but it's good. Let's see. Bren, did you have any other?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Mark. So I kind of go extreme when I start seeds. I go from one spectrum to the other end because, like I was telling you, I used the worm casting one year. And then last year, I kind of mix it up. I like to grow in all different ways. Like if a new product comes out, I like to try it just to see how it works. I think that's normal for gardeners, I hope. But so I got hooked on those little peat pellet things that you put in water. They're so easy to use. They pop up and you put the seed in it. And I, when I have used those, what I use for water, I use my, I have the fish in the greenhouse, so I'll use that fish water, which has got a whole bunch of really good stuff going on, and that seems to work really well. I get a lot of negative feedback from people on Twitter about using peat in any form, shape, size. Can you share with me your opinion on using those? Did I lose them? Oh no.
You guys just came back.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay.
I think I heard most of that question.
Okay.
You were talking about those about peat, and then I think you probably asked me a question directly about it that I didn't hear that part.
Okay. I just wanted your opinion on those peat, the little peat pod things. What do you think about using peat to start seeds?
Well, I mean, in general, I'm all about anything that makes a gardener's life easier, right? I mean, that's kind of like why I started Organic Mechanics, to make a gardener's life easier, where you could use a product and it was earth friendly and you could feel good about it and all that, right? So, I mean, for those, do I find them better than getting a flat at my local garden center and filling it up with a seed starting mix and growing? I mean, I would say that there's definitely a convenience factor, because you said it is so easy. You just soak them in water, they expand, and there's a perfect little hole in the center you drop your seed into. But at the same time, because I've used those things too. I've used just about everything in all my gardening years, and the thing I didn't like about those is that they would kind of I don't know. I wasn't very successful at using them, because they would kind of dry out on me a little bit. And the seedlings didn't seem to get off to a great head start. Whereas when I would put them in, just a seed, it would really start to grow through the bottom of the container, and I'd done it. So I suppose that, in the end, that's the beauty of gardening, is that we all have our own little tricks and whatnot that we do to get seeds to grow and do well. So I imagine there's probably some things that I could have done to make them work better. But for me anyway, just, seed starting in flats, or even in like fiber pots. I really like using the fiber pots for seed starting. There's all kinds of companies that make those little fiber pots. I mean, Cow Pots is one brand, if you've seen those. So those cow pots are actually made from dehydrated cow manure, but they work really well and they don't stink at all. They're but it's like a fiber pot. And then there's another one called Fertile. It's kind of a random name. It's a European company, I think, but Fertil. It's a wood fiber pot that they make. And those they work really well, and they tear apart real easy, and roots can grow through them pretty easily. And so, but I've also done the eggshell, method, and old, like blueberry or raspberry containers, because they have drainage holes at the bottom. Like, that works pretty good. Yeah.
I know I thought some people have those little Keurig coffee machines. I don't have one, but at my daughter's work they do. And I said, hey, bring some of those home. That might be kind of cool to plant in. I told you I do all crazy things.
Nice.
So Mark, I was just wondering if you ship a lot of, a lot of your product, do you ship it pretty far? I mean, are people buying it across the country, or is it mostly local just due to shipping costs?
Yeah, we definitely are fairly local, definitely concentrated locally from, really I would say, Philadelphia to DC. We're right here on the 95 corridor, so yeah, it's our heaviest, and then up to we do some shipping up towards like Boston, and but definitely Mid-Atlantic is our home base, is our most amount of supporters, but we're also shipping it all the way over to
Mark, you slowed down. It's funny, his streaming doesn't just stop, he starts talking very slowly. Well, hopefully he'll come back here in just a jiffy.
Yeah, it looks like, if you go to Organic Mechanics Soil online, you can order, looks like I can even order it here in Ohio.
You mean to be shipped to you?
Yes, to be
Yeah.
shipped. I'm sorry. Yeah, just to
Okay.
mail
Yeah.
order it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Of course.
Um,
Yeah, we kind of lost you, Mark. It's kind of a little bit humorous because you start talking really slow. We know you're not actually talking slow, but that's what it sounds like. So, just the way that it's streaming. So, hopefully, are you back?
Nice.
Nice.
Hopefully. What do you guys think? Is it back to normal?
Oh,
No.
it sounds like you're pretty much back, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, certainly. Yeah, definitely the website. Of course, we ship all over from that, but we do. The Mid-Atlantic is our heaviest. In Ohio, there's a lot of Whole Food stores. Earth Fare is another grocery chain that Ohio, and I'm guessing.
Kind of losing you again, Mark. We can't understand you right now. You got stuck on Ohio.
Yeah.
Well,
that kind of happened. We growing, yeah. Right.
Well, I was wondering,
Nice.
maybe we'll see if we can if it'll stream okay. But do you have any tips, Mark, for someone like a home gardener at home that wants to make maybe some seed starting mix? If they want to make their own, or soil or just potting mix? Do you have any tips for mixing it, or what to put in, I should say?
Sure. Yeah. So suggestions for potting soils at home, kind of doing your own thing. And obviously, you guys just stop me if I start going. The reception cuts out. But yeah, I would say you want to start with ingredients that you're getting at your local garden center. Things to avoid when making your own potting soil. Topsoil from the backyard. You don't want to use topsoil as potting soil.
Right.
It just doesn't have the same. It's not built the same way. You're not going to get the same amount of drainage. Better to leave the topsoil in the garden, right? Other ingredients that you would want to stay away from is your own compost, which I know might sound counterintuitive. Look, if you know you make the best compost on the planet, well, then sure, try it. But if you're like me and you just basically age organic matter in the backyard and then put it in the garden when it's done, it's a great use for it. And again, there's hardly ever enough. But when you're making a potting soil, you have to think about it. Those roots don't have a big area. They have a very small space to grow in. So it needs to be perfect. And so buying that commercially made compost is better because you're guaranteed that there won't be any pathogens, no diseases, no root rots, none of that. Shopping for high quality ingredients is very important. And then, certainly you want to use something that has biology in it in a seed starting blend, whether it's some worm castings or compost, one of those. And you generally need a bulking agent. Most seed starting blends are either mostly coconut fiber or mostly peat moss. That's pretty much your two options when you look at seed starting blends on the market. So, you can choose based on your school of thought and what you like. But one of those two has to be chosen pretty much when you talk about making your own seed starting blend. And then beyond that, a lot of seed starting blends will have perlite or vermiculite. Perlite is the white stuff you find in potting soil. It crunches in your fingers when you squish it, not squishing your head, but squishing. When you squish the perlite, you should hear a crunch, and that's because it's silica ore, and it's you're crushing it. If it bounces back when you let go with your fingers, that's a styrofoam pellet, and it's very cheap potting soil because it has styrofoam in it.
Yeah.
But perlite at garden stores, vermiculite at garden stores. So one of those two, generally speaking. However, I would also say you could consider using rice hulls. We use rice hulls in our mixes instead of perlite and vermiculite, and it keeps the mix nice and fluffy. It allows everything to drain well, while still giving a fair amount of aeration to the plant roots while they're growing. So, I mean, that's what I would suggest as starting.
Where would you find rice hulls? I've never looked for them before.
If you guys can hear me, okay. Bren was cutting out a little bit there, but
sorry,
where
rice
can you
hulls.
find...
Yeah.
Yeah, rice hulls. And everyone says, "What is that? What's a rice hull?"
Yeah.
Well, our vice president gave it the best sentence ever. He made this up. It's like, look, shell, so does every grain of rice, right? Every little grain of rice has a shell, and it's the hull that's the shell, right? So rice hull is the shell of the rice.
Huh.
And honestly, we buy them by the tractor trailer load, just 100% organic, OMRI listed for heavy metals and organic. We actually started selling them this year. They're available in an 8-quart size or a 2 cubic foot size. And you just use them to lighten your soil as a perlite replacement. You can use them for fungus gnat control. Who doesn't hate fungus gnats in the house, especially like when you bring your plants in winter, in fall, fungus gnats in. If you put a layer of house plants, it's really like a barrier for them. So you can use rice hulls like that. They're fantastic for their nutrient content, and they have a lot of silica in them. They're just a really great thing that you can use for even weed control. Nurseries are using them for weed control in pots. Nurseries like Monrovia, Willoway, these major plant nurseries are using them for weed control instead of having to spray a bunch of Roundup. So, I mean, there's a great jump over use of it, but yeah, so you can start seeing them show up at your local garden center, but right now there's not a whole lot of people that have them. But yeah, we started offering them because we thought they're a great alternative to perlite or vermiculite, and why not make them available to people? So yeah,
that's cool.
Thanks. That's a good advice. I think I need to look around and see if they're locally available for me. I have a friend that I know she puts rice hulls in her compost barrel to keep it from getting too soggy, especially in the winter. So yeah. Well, Bren, did you have any?
Get used to that.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. So, Mark, do you have, the shows are pretty much done, aren't they, kind of? I mean, the garden shows, people are getting out in the garden now. Where are you going to be anywhere speaking or anything coming up?
This year I don't have a whole lot of speaking gigs planned. I actually cut back this year and a little bit last year too. So yeah, honestly, I'm going to be at a lot of garden centers pretty much every week, 3 months, or almost every Saturday and every Sunday. And all of our travels will be posted on either Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or all three. But yeah, so there's classes and demos going on at garden centers. But yeah, no other talks. That I kind of pared those down a little bit this year.
That's great.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. That's great. Let's see. So we can find you at Organic Mechanics soil.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, or yep, there's just one S for soil. Mechanic is singular.
Okay.
Organicmechanicsoil.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You got it. And then
You've got a nice.
from there, there's all the links to Facebook and Twitter and all that.
It looks nice. You've got everything listed out there. I'm excited to see, to watch. I didn't. Did you say if you were going to be at any of the garden center shows coming up this summer?
We will be at IGC Chicago and IGC
Okay.
East.
Okay.
So both of those.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're doing a number of other shows. I mean, locally, there's the Philly Farm and Food Fest,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be in its third year. That was so much fun and delicious food.
It was a good time.
Can't wait for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, there's a number of things, and but yeah, everything will be posted in the lead up to on Facebook and Twitter and all that.
Awesome.
All right, so if you wanted to find me, Adam Cortell, you could find me at adamcortell.com. And Bren, where can folks find you?
You can find me at brenhaas.com. I redid my website, so stop by and say hi. That'd be great. And thank you, Adam.
Right.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, we'll go ahead and sign off with that. Thanks.
Thanks.